They broke her, not just silenced her. Leandria Johnson, a gospel powerhouse, was about to reveal the most sinister secrets of today's most influential preachers. But she disappeared into rehab before she could say anything. Is it a coincidence? Or did she have to keep quiet? You will be rendered stunned by what transpired behind closed doors. Neither controversy nor the pulpit are new to Leandria Johnson. She became well known as Sunday Best's third season winner, enthralling viewers with her unvarnished voice and even her frank testimony. The gospel singer, however, has long struggled with a storm that the industry didn't want people to see behind the spotlight. Leandria has never been one to sugarcoat the truth, whether it is through her battle with addiction or her criticism of the religious establishment. However, fans and insiders are really worried about what transpired recently. Leandria had been outspoken in calling out what she described as the evil in high places among today's most renowned preachers just before she supposedly checked herself into treatment once more. She hinted that she had first-hand experiences, films, and evidence that would shake the foundations of some of the most well-known figures in the ministry. Then there was quiet. She vanished from social media, the stage, and the record in an instant. Whispers began to spread. Was she really looking for assistance? Or was the exact industry she wished to criticize hiding her, forcing her into silence? We're delving further into the events leading up to her enigmatic hospital stay, the identities she supposedly intended to reveal, and the truths that some claim the gospel community is desperately trying to hide in today's video. We'll talk about Leandria's heated remarks prior to her disappearance, the frightening link between her silence and the pastors she threatened to identify, as well as her unsettling live sessions that hinted they were coming for me. This is when it becomes incredibly real, so stay with us. We must comprehend how Leandria Johnson became a gospel star and a danger to the church establishment before delving into the sinister disclosures and the rehab rumors. Leandria was not like other gospel performers. The world witnessed something different when she walked barefoot and broken onto the stage of BT's Sunday Best. A real woman, not a polished one. Her anointed voice, captivating presence, and story of sheer pain transformed into praise. However, she irritated the system right from the start. Leandria declined to get involved in church politics. She candidly talked about being a single mother, her struggles with alcohol, and her profound mistrust of the church leadership behind the scenes, in contrast to other gospel artists who associate themselves with well-known pastors and immaculate branding. In one of her widely shared Facebook postings, she declared, "I'm sick of pretending." The gospel world was rocked by that statement alone. These pastors out here aren't who y'all think they are. I'm tired of pretending like everything's okay behind the pulpit, and the anxiety just increased after that. Church members were unsure about how to handle her. She had a gospel CD at the top of the charts, a Grammy, and a testimony that would move even the most heartbroken people to tears. She had a mission though, and a mouth. She exposed the fraud, she resisted being handled, and rumors began to circulate behind the scenes. She poses a threat. She is erratic. She's too genuine. This is where things start to become unsettling though. Things took a drastic turn when Leandria began claiming to have evidence of significant scandals involving well-known pastors, not just hearsay, but receipts. Her life on social media became more and more emotional. She appeared worn out, irritated, and occasionally suspicious. A few days later, she vanished from all platforms, saying to her followers, "They've been calling me, threatening me, trying to shut me up, but I ain't scared. Nothing, no music, no updates, no shows." Then there was news. Leandria was in treatment, but was it a cover-up or a plea for assistance? Fans weren't buying into the gospel community's attempt to convince them that it was about taking care of themselves. Given what she was going to reveal and who was on her list, the timing couldn't have been more ideal. Chapter 2 starts at that point, because we go into detail about who Leandria was planning to name next, as well as why some of these pastors reportedly became alarmed when she began speaking. Leandria Johnson didn't use riddles when she spoke. Her clues, initials, and descriptions of the pandemonium behind the scenes were so detailed that both fans and insiders quickly put the pieces together. Leandria had become more outspoken about what she referred to as the hypocrisy of the pulpit prior to her enigmatic admission to treatment. She claimed, "You'd be shocked who's sleeping with whom, who's paying off people to stay quiet. Some of your favorite preachers, your favorite bishops are living double lives in a series of now deleted live streams, and I received tales, authentic tales with names." The gospel world was set on fire by that line. Bloggers and fans started making assumptions right away. These dudes were who she was talking about. What was the reason behind her fervor, recklessness, and deliberateness? Let's examine the three most frequently mentioned names that Leandria was allegedly circulating in her expos. Whispers from a megachurch bishop with a TV ministry lead, straight to a well-known bishop with ties to Atlanta. His name has drifted around for years amid scandals, affairs, hush money, and abuses of power, but none of them have stuck. He is well known for his flamboyant sermons, large conferences, and unquestionable media dominance. He's been doing this for years. Leandria alluded. Some conjectured that she had voice notes, messages, and even Cash App receipts that indicated payments made to quiet victims. But you just don't know because the church pays to hide it. If what she was implying is accurate, it could bring down an enterprise in addition to causing a scandal. 2. A well-known gospel performer who became a pastor. This individual used to be a collaborator in addition to being a spiritual leader. This figure had shared audiences and stages with Leandria. However, she claims that after she discovered he was reportedly abusing his position to influence young women in the choir, their private relationship worsened. You are not heavenly just because you can sing. He knows what he did, and he knows I know, she said. Gospel bloggers went into overdrive after reading just one paragraph, making connections between fresh accusations and old rumors. According to some, she intended to expose a taped phone conversation she had with one of the victims. Behind the scenes, the strain must have been intolerable. 3. A prophet who is well known across the country and has a secretive private life. Her subtle jab at a well-known prophet who was renowned for his ostentatious lifestyle and purported spiritual abilities was possibly the most startling. Are you really letting him read your futures while he's out here living in lies? Leandria said candidly, dude, if I open my mouth, this person has long been accused of taking advantage of weak churchgoers on an emotional and even financial level. The ramifications were enormous. If even one of these stories had gone public, if Leandria had named names, provided evidence, and told the whole truth, it could have brought down multi-million-dollar ministries, shattered record label partnerships, and revealed the sinister underbelly of the gospel machine. According to several anonymous insiders who claimed that Leandria had been collecting stories from women across the nation who were scared to speak but trusted her because she had also been duped by the system. What if the rehab was never about healing? What if it was about permanently silencing her? To fully understand whether Leandria Johnson was forced into silence or genuinely seeking help, we must closely examine the series of events leading up to her disappearance. But before she could share any of it, she was gone. No last message, no last live, no warning, just rehabilitation. And that timing was too perfect, too clean, almost like someone or multiple people wanted her tucked away, out of sight until the fire cooled down. The timeline doesn't add up. January and February are coming for me. Leandria's live sessions became noticeably darker at the beginning of the year. She frequently went live late at night, occasionally slurring her words and occasionally getting emotional, but always speaking directly to the camera with fire in her eyes. They're watching me, she said to her followers one evening in January. I'm not insane. I'm going to blow it all out because I know what I know. Do you believe that the church is pure? She followed it up with screenshots, blurred names, deleted conversations, and voice notes she claimed were from gospel leaders trying to pay her to keep quiet. At that point, many followers believed she was experiencing another emotional outburst. You can't buy my silence. I don't want your money. I want truth. I want justice. March. A sudden drop of appearances. In March, fans noticed something odd. Leandria started canceling concerts and public appearances without providing clear explanations. That's when her tone changed from emotional to angry. Some shows were abruptly pulled from promotional calendars, while others were quietly rescheduled. According to gospel insiders, management was frantically working behind the scenes, and there were rumors that she was fighting with promoters, refusing to perform with certain pastors, and demanding control over her set list. Then came the alarming post, "If anything happens to me, just know I was never afraid," she wrote in an Instagram story that has since been removed. I was prepared to talk. Fans had ample time to grab screenshots of that message, even if it was only visible for a few hours. Long enough to scare people who already knew what she was up against, and long enough to cause a social media shockwave. It was hard to see Leandria's final public live video before rehab in early April. She appeared tired and unkempt, and her voice broke as she sobbed. "They'll never let me be free if I speak the truth. However, I must still say it. I've witnessed pastors ruin lives. I have witnessed deception, abuse, and cover-ups. I didn't sign up for this," she said abruptly, and reports surfaced within 5 days that she had checked herself into a private rehab facility for mental health support and alcohol recovery. Some claim the video froze, while others claim someone on her team removed it. Her team went silent, and even her closest friends and collaborators posted evasive messages about praying for her recovery and respecting her privacy. But fans weren't buying it when it was revealed that some church leaders she had previously mentioned had communicated with her management in the days leading up to her disappearance. And then she was gone. The strange silence of the gospel community. The strangest part was the total silence from the gospel industry. Leandria, one of the most renowned voices of her generation, had just disappeared. One source even said she didn't go willingly. This wasn't about healing, it was about damage control. Big money was involved, and no one spoke out about it. No prominent gospel figure, no statement from her label, not even an online prayer circle. Why the silence? Why the distance? Many now think that her absence was a well-planned tactic. Keep her silent until the public forgets, or until she agrees to follow the rules once more. And this is where it becomes even more disturbing. Coincidence or arrogance? The gospel world sighed when Leandria Johnson checked herself into rehab, at least for those who were afraid of what she might expose. At least one of the pastors she allegedly had evidence against started a new online series about restoration while Leandria was in rehab, including sermons about preserving the church's reputation. And unlisted, extremely private facility sources say Leandria didn't attend a public rehab. To the public, it appeared to be just another troubled celebrity battling their demons. But to those closely observing, this was no typical period of recovery. In fact, what transpired behind those closed doors may have been more about controlling her than about healing. Leandria had previously fought addiction in public, talking about drinking, using drugs to deal with trauma, and how her faith helped her get over it. But this time felt different. She was reportedly taken to a private, invitation-only recovery center, the type used by high-profile people and celebrities who need complete secrecy. The disappearing phone and the missing access. Leandria, who is known for being active on social media and communicating directly with fans, went completely silent. One insider close to her circle claims that this was not about help, but rather about isolation. They needed her off the grid, where no one could reach her, and her team had complete control over her surroundings. This begs the important question of who sent her there and why. No posts, no mysterious tales, not even planned material. According to several gospel blogs, her phone was stolen, and all correspondence was routed through a handler connected to her label and church affiliations. One gospel performer who wished to remain anonymous stated, "Leandria contacted me prior to entering. I haven't heard from her since she advised me to think anything was amiss if I didn't hear from her." According to reports, even family members were prohibited from going. The ambiguous Facebook post from a close cousin that said, "Sometimes silence ain't healing, it's control. I just want my cousin back," only served to confirm the assumption that Leandria wasn't in rehab voluntarily, or at least not fully autonomously. The part about spiritual counseling, most shocking perhaps. Not just any counseling, but spiritual rehabilitation counseling was part of Leandria's treatment. According to insiders, advisors with a church affiliation who were well known for collaborating closely with pastors and others in the gospel industry oversaw it. Translation: she might have been restored by the same power structure she had been working to expose. Take a moment to process that. A woman who publicly criticized church hypocrisy during her most vulnerable period, she was placed under the supervision of spiritual advisors assigned by the church. Recovery wasn't the point here. The topic was reprogramming. According to a report provided by a former employee of the rehabilitation center, Leandria received intense sessions centered on obedience, humility, and forgiveness, with one session specifically addressing the harm caused by disobedience in ministry. To put it another way, she was learning how to keep quiet, pressure to change one's mind. Gospel enthusiasts started to notice something much more unsettling at this time. A few of Leandria's most contentious live performances and films. Platforms began to remove the ones in which she threatened expose, alluded to abuse, and chastised church leadership. Facebook Lives were erased, YouTube videos were removed, and even reposts from third parties were subject to copyright accusations. Was the trace being erased? Or was this her doing? According to one well-known gospel site, her managers had received explicit instructions to purify her internet persona before to her re-entry into the public eye. A large platform revival tour was offered to her, according to another source, but only if she accepted a non-disclosure agreement. Yes, you heard correctly. They would sacrifice her truth in order to give her a second chance, her stage, her songs, and her brand. According to one insider, she might never sing again if she speaks the truth. That's the depth of this. The message she attempted to convey before to her complete silence. According to reports, Leandria attempted to send one last message. A voicemail was left for a close friend. "Don't let them twist my story," Leandria allegedly said in it. "If I don't return the same, tell the people why." The public has never heard that voicemail. Those who have heard it, however, describe her voice as worn out and defeated. Not the brazen and audacious Leandria supporters were accustomed to. She was aware of the situation, and she was aware of the spiritual as well as musical damage they were causing to her voice. The most eerie portion comes next. She hasn't returned completely yet. Yes, since then, Leandria has appeared on occasion. The fire is dimmer though. The lives have ceased. The honest truth is no longer there. Additionally, when she does show up, her speech is controlled, polished, and far removed from the lady who once declared, "They can't stop me from telling the truth." Perhaps they did though. Or perhaps she's simply waiting for the ideal opportunity to return more powerfully and reveal everything at last. Quietness was never Leandria Johnson's style. She defied convention as soon as she entered the public eye. Unfiltered, barefoot, and unreservedly anointed, there was more in her voice than notes. It was truthful. Too many powerful people wanted this information to be kept quiet. Everyone is now asking the same question, which is straightforward yet incredibly unnerving. Was she permanently silent, or is she returning? She looks like a different person now. Leandria has made a few public appearances since leaving Rehab, but they are short, strictly regulated, and uncannily sterile. The fervent late-night live feeds, in which she would talk candidly and warn of the corruption she had witnessed firsthand, are no longer available. The candid Facebook posts, candid challenges, and behind-the-scenes confessions are all gone. Rather, Leandria is being portrayed as a planned character who is meticulously positioned in pre-approved interviews, adheres to talking points, and stops mentioning names. She said, "I've learned a lot about submission and timing." That wasn't typical of her when she made one of her first visits back. It wasn't fire. Fear was that, or indoctrination at the very least, and many of us wonder if this is her decision. Or did they manage to keep her obedient by eventually breaking her spirit? Forgiveness is meticulously crafted by the gospel industry. It's interesting to see that the identical pastors she had previously condemned have started publicly embracing her after she remained silent. They're calling her rejuvenated and restored, inviting her back to the stage, and making gentle introductions. Fans aren't stupid though. Many think that this is calculated public relations, a means of portraying her as recovered so that no one investigates the real circumstances. She was going to light a bonfire. She is now being used to promote healing. That statement from an insider in gospel music sums everything up. They repackaged her instead of only quieting her. Additionally, they hope that viewers will forget the controversy she caused and the near truth she revealed. What if the receipts are still in her possession? This is where things start to become fascinating once more though. Some others think Leandria is still in possession of the evidence she alluded to before going missing, that the files have not been erased by her, that she is only waiting and still has the names, the screenshots, and the proof, awaiting the ideal setting, the ideal defense, or perhaps even the ideal degree of fan support so that she can finally come forward without worrying about being buried once more. Those who attempted to silence her should be alarmed by the implication that a close source who allegedly spoke to her lately said, "She ain't done. She's just being smart now." The church won't simply be rocked if Leandria returns with her complete truth, her complete anointing, and her complete freedom. It will be broken. Why is this story important? There are more than one woman in Leandria's story. It has to do with a pattern, a tendency to silence dissenting opinions, particularly those of women in the ministry, a practice of concealing mistreatment with titles and prayers, a tendency to silence prophets when the pulpit finds their truth too upsetting. That pattern was threatened by her voice, and they were aware of it. Thus, they promised her stage time in return for silence, wiped her image, and concealed her in a recovery facility. However, the issue still stands. How long? Because in the end, every truth eventually comes to light. What do you think then? Did Leandria have to go to rehab in order to safeguard her own health? Or was it all a deliberate action to silence a woman with too much knowledge? Was this a hush money or healing case? Above all, do you believe she will ever divulge her knowledge? Let's discuss it in the comments section. Press the like button if you think Leandria has more to tell. We're not done discussing this, so if you're watching and anything feels off, please subscribe. We're exploring the hidden facts of the gospel world in greater detail. You won't want to miss what comes next, I promise. Tell someone who still believes in truth even when the church doesn't want to hear it by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing this video.